Hi everybody, today we're going to see how to crochet the cross stitch. Today I've made 20 foundation chain of 20 points and 3 plus 3 chains that count as a double crochet, and I'm going to insert the hook in the 5th chain and to crochet a double crochet as usual. Now I yarn over and I go back. I insert the crochet here in the previous chain and I work a double crochet as usual. I make a chain because in the first stage we're going to create the spaces here, and then we are going to see another way of crocheting this stitch. So I need a chain. I skip 2 chains and I insert the hook in the 3rd chain. I bring forth the yarn that's behind, I yarn over and I work the first 2 loops and I yarn over and I work the other 2 loops. Now I yarn over and, as I've said before and I repeat it, and I go back here in the previous stitch. I take the yarn, I bring it forth, and I yarn over. I work the first 2 loops, and I yarn over and I work the other 2 loops. So you can see this is the crossed stitch, a chain, I yarn over, I skip 2 chains, I insert the hook in the 3rd and I bring forth the yarn, I yarn over and I work the first 2 loops that are on the hook, and I yarn over and I work the other 2 loops. Now I yarn over and I go back here in the previous chain and I take the yarn, I bring it forth, and now I yarn over and I work the first 2 loops on the hook, and I yarn over again and work in the other 2 loops. Here it is, the other crossed stitch. It's also crisscross stitch. Again I yarn over, I skip 2 chains, I insert the hook in the 3rd and as I said, and I work a double crochet normally. Then I yarn over and I go back here in the previous stitch, the previous chain, so I work a double crochet in the previous. Here it is again, a chain, I skip 2 chains, I insert the hook in the 3rd, I yarn over and I work a double crochet normally, and I yarn over, and now again I go back in the previous stitch, in the previous chain, and I work another double crochet. Chain again, I yarn over and I skip 2 chains, I insert the hook in the 3rd and I work in a double crochet. I yarn over and I go back in the previous stitch here, and I work another double crochet, chain. Again I skip 2 chains, and in the third I insert the hook and I work a double crochet, I yarn over and I go back in the previous chain stitch, and I crochet another double crochet. Again a chain, I skip 2 chains, I insert the hook in the third and I make a double crochet, I yarn over and I go back in the previous chain and I make another double crochet, a chain, and now I'm going to finish the row by making a double crochet. Then again 3 chains that count as a double crochet, and now to start and make easier my work, I yarn over and I go here in the second, where I have worked the second double crochet in the previous row, and I work a double crochet, I yarn over and I go here where I have worked the first double crochet in the previous row, and I work another double crochet, a chain, and again I yarn over and I go here. This is the cross stitch of the previous row, and I go here, I insert the hook here and I work a double crochet, I yarn over and I go back here and I work here another double crochet. It's simple, as you can see, a chain, I yarn over and I go here, insert the hook here and I work a double crochet, and I yarn over and I go back here where I have worked my first stitch in the previous row, and I work my second, so I can cross the stitch, a chain. Again I go here, yarn over and go insert the crochet here, and I make a double crochet, I yarn over, I go back here and I make another double crochet, a chain, I yarn over and I go here where I have worked my second double crochet in the previous row, and I make a double crochet, and then I yarn over and I go back here to cross the stitches, a chain, and again I yarn over and I insert here a crochet hook, I make a double crochet, I yarn over, I go back here and I work another double crochet, to cross the 2 double crochets, yarn over and go back and I make a double crochet to cross 2, I make a chain, I yarn over and I go back here and I make a double crochet, and again I yarn over and I go back here and I work another double crochet, chain, and the last of this row, double crochet, I yarn over and I go back here to make another double crochet, so to cross the two stitches, a chain, and I finish the round by making here in the third chain a double crochet. Now I'm going to make you see the second version of this stitch. I crochet three chains. Now here, as you can see, we've created some spaces. This is a lace crossed stitch. Now some versions, some patterns have another version of this crossed stitch. So yarn over, three chains, yarn over, skip the first stitch, and in the second make a double crochet, yarn over and go back in this chain, in this stitch, and make another double crochet. In this case we don't make a chain between the stitches, between the crossed stitches. So without making a chain, I proceed, I yarn over, I skip the first stitch, I insert the hook in the second, and I make a double crochet. I yarn over and go back to fill the previous stitch. As you can see, you don't have this space here. Again, I yarn over, I skip one stitch, I go to the second, I insert the hook in the second stitch, I make a double crochet, I yarn over and go back here in the previous stitch, and I fill the stitch. Again, I skip one stitch, I go to the I insert the hook in the second one, and I work a simple crochet, a double crochet, and again I go back here in the stitch I've left free to fill the stitch. Again, yarn over, skip one stitch, go to the next one, and make a double crochet, yarn over and go back to the previous stitch and make another double crochet. Again, skip, yarn over, skip one stitch, go directly into the second and make a double crochet. Again, go yarn over and go back to the previous stitch and work another crochet. You can see the difference. Here we have the space, here the stitches are closer. Again, yarn over, skip the first stitch and work the second directly, make a double crochet, yarn over and go back to the previous stitch and work a double crochet. Again, yarn over, skip a stitch, go into the second directly and make a double crochet, and go back to the previous stitch and work a double crochet. Once more, yarn over, skip one stitch, go directly to the second and insert the hook in the second, work a double crochet, and again yarn over and go back here to work another double crochet. And that's it. It's up to you to decide if you like for some patterns this kind of stitch or if you like this. Thank you for being with me. Till next time. Bye.